hi, ladies and gentlemen. ZenCon is all over, and we're here in the hallway, me and Fabrizio Branca, and we're going to have a nice little interview for you. So, Fabrizio, introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, my name is Fabrizio Branca. I'm actually Italian. I was born and grew up in Germany, and I live in San Francisco now.
So quite the international type, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, what is it that you do, Fabrizio?
I'm a PHP developer. I am the lead system developer at AOE. Currently, I do mostly Magento and a lot of AWS infrastructure stuff. And I've been doing some CMS, open source CMS with Typo 3 in the past. And so that's mostly.
Well, most people will know Fabrizio from his involvement in the Magento community. And that's how I got to know him. Where did we get to know each other? It was November, I guess?
Yeah,
last year at PHP World.
Yeah, great conference.
PHP World being one of the early attempts of bringing all the sub-communities of PHP together. So that means WordPress, Magento, Drupal, Joomla, and the core PHP community. And then you have the framework communities like Zen Framework and Symfony. And we all came together, and I met Fabrizio at my talk. And then we went to have Chinese food together. And
I remember, yeah.
The rest is history. Now, Fabrizio, tell me something about AOE, because in the past I knew AOE from some GitHub components I found, some modules. So maybe you should tell us what you guys do.
Yeah. So AOE is our tagline is the open web company. So we take open source seriously. Basically, everything we touch is open source. And a lot of things we actually do will be published as open source. Our main offices are in Germany. We are like over 200 people there. And I moved to the US 4 years ago to grow our US office. It's actually pretty small. We're only 6 people here, but I like this small and intimate team. It's very nice to work with. And in the US we're focusing on Magento mostly. And in Germany we have Magento teams. We have Typo 3 teams, we have teams dealing with Zen Framework and Symfony, we have a mobile team, we have a solar product, and we have designers too, and so we offer everything around web development.
Cool. You were mentioning that you like the intimate setting in San Francisco, and you actually moved from Germany to San Francisco.
Yes.
So how did that come along? What was the reasoning behind that?
So we had this office in San Francisco with like a salesperson only, because at that time we've already been doing projects with US clients. We've been doing the WebEx portal back then. That was a CMS project. And at some point we wanted to make that US office a real development office. So I was number 2, and quickly we hired.
So you joined the salesperson in the beginning?
Exactly, yeah. So I've been doing a little bit of development work back then, but mostly assisting him in the sales work. And then at some point we were big enough to actually do projects on our own, and that's what we do right now. So we do real projects all by ourselves. The nice thing is that we can even do projects that are bigger that we could handle, because we have basically our outsourced team in Germany.
Yes, yes.
And that's really nice. So I currently actually work with one of our German teams on a different bigger project. So there's a lot of collaboration, and with the 9-hour time difference, that works okay.
Does it?
So, yeah, I wake up early, but I do that anyways because I have 2 little kids, and they don't mind staying past 4 or 5 in the office, and so there's always an hour or 2 overlap at least.
So what's it like living in San Francisco? You being used to the European culture, moving to so what IT promised land, as they say. So what's it like? Is it?
So San Francisco is great. Actually, the Bay Area is great, and the peninsula, the San Francisco Peninsula. I'm not a big city guy. I always get stressed out when I have to do anything in San Francisco. It's a beautiful city, and there's many interesting things.
But you live at the outskirts?
Yeah, I actually live in Daly City. It's actually almost Pacifica. So it's we have a house right at the ocean. We have a view on the ocean. That's great.
Okay, that's great.
Our office is on the other side of the peninsula with a view on the bay. So I get to cross the peninsula. That's only a 20-minute drive, and that's great. It's a wonderful landscape there, And yeah, and there's a lot of stuff happening there. There's literally a very interesting meetup every single day with
that's what I heard. Like, if you want to, and if you don't want to spend money on food, you just go and meet up every day.
Right.
You have to leave with the fact that it's pizza. So if you like pizza every day, San Francisco's the place to go.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a ton of stuff happening there, and that's great.
But as you told me, you were planning to move back to Germany?
Yeah, so I mean, me coming to the US and I brought my family, that was a temporary thing in the first place. Actually, initially we only planned to stay 2 to 3 years. Then we liked it so much and AOE wanted us to stay, so we said, okay, we'll stay a little longer. But now we're kind of ready to go back. Our kids are older.
And you have the team there in place that can...
Exactly.
They don't depend on you as they did.
No, there will be somebody else coming and replacing me, but still, I mean, the team, we have a very good team, all senior developers, so they can totally do projects all by themselves.
Cool. And so you're excited to be back in Europe again?
Well, yes and no. I will miss the team. I will miss San Francisco, the Bay Area, but I'm also looking forward to be back in our German team. I'm looking forward to be back in Germany. Our families are there, and so it's just.
But being in IT, you can do your job anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
more or less, it's the people that matter, rather than other circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be back for Magento Imagine conferences. And
speaking of which, what's your personal involvement in the Magento community for the people who are not too familiar with that?
So, I'm the author of a handful, actually a couple of handfuls modules out there. We have like some very popular ones, the AOE Scheduler and the Profile and Template Tint.
Yeah, I've used the Profiler. It was a nice experience.
So, and we've done a couple of implementations, like we did the Angry Birds web shop back a couple of years ago with like 10 orders per second. And along this project, we figured out a lot of things around doing clean deployments, doing high performance AWS setups. And I think that's what people connect with AOE. And then I've been doing a lot of screencasts and other presentations, mostly around like using Modman and Composer in the Magento, basically trying to teach people how to set up Magento projects in a way that's not dumping all files in Git and deploy via FTP.
Yeah, exactly. Now the big news here is that Magento 2 is coming up.
It is.
Now I know, working in the hosting industry and delivering a talk here about Magento performance, that Magento is a difficult beast to tame, especially Magento 1. It's old, we can say that, right?
Yeah.
It's very innovative, or it was very innovative back in the day, and it's still, in terms of functionality towards merchants, it's still awesome.
Yeah.
But in terms of code, performance, best practices, not so much. So what should our audience know about the upcoming Magento 2? First, when is it coming up? Do you have an exact date?
No, I don't have an exact date, and I don't think anybody really outside of the Magento, Magento Inc. knows that. But it's coming in Q4, so it could be coming any day now.
It's October, November, December.
Yeah, so my bet it's more like towards December,
just before everyone goes on holidays.
Right. Yeah, and then there will be quarterly releases. So Joshua Warren had a great presentation there, and he was suggesting Q1 is probably a good time, 2016, to when the first Magento version was out there, and some of the early problems might have already been solved, to switch over to Magento. I personally think it doesn't really make sense to switch an existing project, because it's looking at all the new concepts that were introduced and the template changes, all of that.
So tell us something about those concept changes,
because
I think they're quite significant.
Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting things going on. I mean, clearly Magento was built now and not 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Exactly.
So a lot of things have happened in the PHP, or actually in the developer world. So Magento now comes with dependency injection, comes with AOP-like a concept, like plugins that allow you to intercept any method, and that allows you to design your code base a lot cleaner by separating different concerns and not having one big thing. It comes with a much cleaner module concept, where now actually you can have self-contained modules that come with code, templates, layout files.
Just like Symfony bundles.
Yeah,
similar.
And it comes with Composer.
Good.
And so a lot of modern concepts, and of course it might be some developers will have a hard time because all of a sudden they will have to learn a ton of new stuff if they're not always.
And that's what the Drupal community is facing these days. But they accepted that Drupal 8 is a thing, and it will be released anytime soon. And people will live, learn, and
I think that's a good thing. I think it's good sometimes to force the developer community to deal with these new concepts now and
get it over with. Just get it done.
I believe that it's not a big deal. You spend like a week or so to really grok that concept, and then I'm sure you start loving it. You should start loving the fact that magically your dependencies come in and you don't keep instantiating objects with dependency injection, all that stuff.
Will that have an impact on Modman and other?
Modman, as much as I love that, will be obsolete.
And what about Magento Connect?
Well, that's a whole different topic. They're working on a new version of Magento Connect because there is so much wrong with Magento Connect these days, and there is all kinds of issues, starting from code quality, from people stealing versions, uploading them again with a different name and charging money for that. And they're trying to address all these problems. And also there is a tighter integration to Magento 2. I'm not sure if they're working on something that's based on top of Composer. I'm not sure, they haven't released any details yet, but I'm very much looking forward to that. Composer is Magento Connect is a topic that's like discussed very intensely. I also believe that the concept behind Magento Connect is fundamentally wrong because it allows merchants to randomly install modules, even the good ones, and that's something that a merchant shouldn't be able to do. But of course, I can understand how this marketplace is important for the ecosystem.
Indeed,
and so we'll see where this goes.
Let's talk performance for a second now. I knew the reason I'm doing these Magento talks is purely out of a performance concern, and I primarily focus on caching. What's the strategy there in Magento 2? Will there be better caching options?
Yeah, yes and no. First of all, Magento, they released some statistics. Should be a lot faster out of the box already, so that's what they promised.
And to what version are they aiming of PHP? If we're talking about
PHP 7,
PHP 7
is supported now.
Okay,
so that's what they say. I haven't.
We'll see, but that should heavily impact.
Yeah, but even independent from that, even doing like PHP 5.5 comparison between Magento 2 and Magento 1, the benchmarks that they show is that Magento 2 already is supposed to be faster.
Yeah,
and we'll see.
Absolutely. Are they using components, Symfony components, or other ones?
Oh well, yes, they are. But to be honest, it's for like Symfony console.
Okay,
it's not. You cannot say
HTTP Foundation or HTTP kernel. They're not using that.
So it's not a Symfony application. It's also not a Zen Framework application, although they're using also some Zen Framework components. Yeah, and also like a mix between Zen Framework 1 and Zen Framework 2 components. Ooh. So it's like a mix and match of different things. But at the core, it's not a Symfony or Zen Framework application because basically it's the Magento framework that they built. Kind of reinventing some of the parts others have invented before. That's kind of what I think is not so smart about Magento 2, but so they are basically looking left and right the PHP world and
seeing what works.
Yeah, and Magento 2 now comes with a full page cache, even as part of the community edition.
Yes, because that was the selling factor, right? I got in touch with Magento salespeople, and they always said, "Oh, but you get full page cache and it's better." But
right.
I use Varnish,
exactly,
or less DFPC, or what have you.
But the Magento 2 full page cache concept is supposed to be generic enough to replace the native full page cache with a Varnish front end.
Okay, that would be better, and I hope support for Varnish 4. If not, I'm gonna enter a slight contribution, right? Pull request.
Yeah. So I would assume they have looked at Varnish and Varnish 4. But I know that designing the full page cache, that was definitely one of their design decisions to because they see that people use Varnish and that this makes sense.
And a final note on the caching part, and especially the full page cache, is nowadays people use modules on Magento 1 to break the content up into bits and pieces, either via Ajax or via ESI. Is that going to be a native thing?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly how they solved this so far, but there is a concept of basically punch holing the website and either replacing that during the rendering process or like afterwards via Ajax or via
Ajax or ESI.
I'm not sure if they have the ESI part already figured out. I'm also not a fan of ESI. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. But I can already see how the Magento demo site already now does some things with loading personalized content, so they already have a content.
Because that's the thing with e-commerce, right? It's hard to cache e-commerce websites.
Right.
You have the CMS pages, the product pages, categories, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
But the moment you start working with shopping carts, checkout procedures, all bets are off.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And but for me, working in the hosting industry, it will be much more about advocating than using, because it's our client's code bases, so we'll see what the adoption rate will be.
Right.
I have people on Twitter today ask me about when it will be released. I think the answer is very much when it's done, but we're aiming at Q4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Q4, yeah. I mean, Magento 1 is not that, for sure, and I don't think that's just a typical sales or marketing thing. I'm pretty sure we'll be doing Magento 1 for another year or even 2, because after all, we know everything. We know Magento 1 really well, and that's not specifically us as AOE, but the community knows Magento 1.
And no one is standing there with their development teams ready at the starting line the moment it gets released. Yes, we're going to do it all in Magento 2. That is not going to happen. There is no money, no time for that.
Right. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. It's definitely exciting, and I'm looking forward to that.
So do I. And on that note, I'd like to end. I'd like to thank Fabrizio for checking.
Thanks for having me.
For staying around here, and more episodes coming up. Bye-bye, people.
Bye-bye.